Today we are announcing the arrests and unsealing of an indictment charging 11 individuals for allegedly overseeing an extensive marriage fraud scheme involving more than 1,000 sham marriages.
So after a massive raid in New York, the issue of marriage-based immigration fraud is once again hitting the headlines. And while the proponents of socialism say criticism or investigation into scams like this are un-American, the idea that crime is being committed against our country right before a pivotal midterm election, well, that's got people asking questions. And some of those people are federal investigators who are looking into just about everyone, even members of Congress.
Federal prosecutors say they were all in on it. Foreigners who wanted to become American citizens, and American citizens who were willing to marry them on paper for a price.
This is one of the largest marriage fraud prosecutions in United States history. This scheme was not a fly-by-night operation, but rather a years-long, multi-million-dollar cottage industry to criminally assist people who would not, or legally could not, otherwise become citizens of the United States.
Ilhan Omar, one of my favorites, and her brother are thinking about moving together, very much in love. She also calls her brother husband number one. Omar is reportedly being investigated for fraud.
This is just a made-up lie because you do not investigate someone for 10 years and not come up with anything.
So then why do you think it's still being talked about?
Because these people are disgusting. They believe in weird, creepy things, and that's why they want to believe in this weird.
So this scheme was allegedly responsible for many a bogus marriage that gave someone legal residency in America. And what nobody's talking about is this bust could not have come at a worse time for the socialists who want to take over America after they win the midterm elections, because it follows months of scams being unearthed from coast to coast, like the daycare fraud that got exposed in Minnesota, where empty daycares bought luxury vacations for the operators, who may also be running fraudulent adult daycares, which seem to be fueling not just political candidates sympathetic to the plight of these scammers, but also so much job growth it makes the failing economy of New York State look like it's actually growing while America pays for it. But it gets even worse because some of these fraudsters have direct connections to the politicians who are now promoting communism as the solution to all of the problems that those very same politicians have brought upon all of us. A mess that started when the US border was left wide open and 20 million illegal immigrants entered the country without permission, triggering an affordability crisis never before seen in our country, which the communists claim they can fix, not by enforcing our laws, but reopening the border again, even more, and stealing from some Americans to buy free groceries and free bus rides for other Americans. Which brings us to the real reason these scams are such a problem for the communists. This election cycle, they expose the lie that these people are trying to sell to you and me. But if you want to look into this stuff, you're the crazy person, you're the weirdo, according to these folks. Never mind that all of the money being made by criminals at the heart of these schemes does nothing to help the law-abiding, who find themselves disenfranchised at every single turn, especially in these sanctuaries that seem to care nothing for anyone except criminals who get a free pass and can do whatever they want until the federal government steps in. Watch.
Federal prosecutors say the photos were as bogus as the marriages they claim to depict.
Wow.
American citizens who were paid thousands of dollars to marry Chinese citizens who wanted to obtain green cards to become American citizens. What justice officials described as a sweeping fraud scheme that resulted in hundreds of sham marriages.
The defendants made enormous sums of money for themselves. We believe this network took in tens of millions of dollars over its decade-long operation,
Decade-long operation, tens of millions of dollars, and of course, this is found in a sanctuary state. It's found in New York. It's not found in a place where laws are enforced. It's found in a place where criminals are given a free pass on many different levels. But if you've got a problem with this, if you want to look into stuff like this, if you start asking questions, well, you're the problem. Check this out.
More to the idea that this is just a made-up lie because you do not investigate someone for 10 years and not come up with anything.
So then why do you think it's still being talked about?
Because these people are disgusting.
Oh.
They believe in weird, creepy things, and that's why they want to believe in this weird.
Yeah, so there are people that say that this has actually happened, that this actually transpired, that she actually did marry her brother. And the vice president has even said she's being investigated. Now, why hasn't anything dropped? Well, these investigations take a long time. Something could be happening behind the scenes. And it makes sense to me that when you have somebody who is a polarizing and popular political figure, whether you agree with her or not, depending on who's running the show in America, if somebody's on your team, you may not want to investigate them. Kind of like President Biden not investigating Hunter Biden for anything.
But in that case, you would think that Ilhan, I think that there are many other people in Washington, D.C. who watched the success of the influence peddling scheme that the Biden family ran. And more importantly, they saw that the Biden family faced zero consequences for that scheme. And they decided to try and replicate the results themselves. So I do hope that James Comer is successful at cracking what is actually going on here, because I think that she's probably not the only one in Washington with some considerable wealth to answer for.
Interesting. But what's fascinating about this is if you or I care about things like immigration fraud, we're the problem for some reason, and we're creepy. But you know what's really creepy? The things the communist leaders of the Democrat Party who have now come out of the shadows really care about. I mean, these are people who want to cancel Thanksgiving. You've got folks like Hassan Piker that hate capitalism, hate America, just so happen themselves to be rich, alleged Nepo babies who've got plenty of money and very few problems, certainly not affordability problems, certainly not problems putting the gas in the tank of their car every week. And it's people like this that campaign with people who dislike Thanksgiving, who've endorsed people like Ilhan Omar. So you have this weird trifecta going on here of bizarre beliefs that are totally contrary to how our country's supposed to run. And when people that get endorsements like this are asked about them, here's what they have to say. Watch.
One powerful voice that has been a big topic of conversation is the left-wing streamer Hassan Piker. He's someone that you've campaigned alongside with. He put out a video backing your re-election today. There are moderate Democrats who have criticized Abdul El-Sayed for appearing on the campaign trail with him. What's your view of that criticism?
I mean, people, in a free country, people can have opinions about people who campaign with candidates. I certainly had my own criticisms of folks who campaigned, folks that were on the top of the ticket for us in 2024. Ultimately, we all put our heads down, try to get to voters, have the conversations that are necessary, because we're not able to have any kind of the changes that we want until we win. And so everybody's trying to do the best that they can to try to get their message out.
But if somebody controversial endorses President Trump, he's just as bad as that person. That's so interesting. We've got such a double standard in this country. We can have radical people that say they dislike America, they dislike our system of doing things, they dislike our country, they dislike our holidays, they dislike our people, they dislike our laws. That person endorses you. Well, we're a big tent party now. We're just trying to win. Do you see what's going on here? There is an effort to take what used to be the moderate Democrats, the Fetterman Democrats, and get rid of them. Kick them out of this party completely and bring in the communists. But in order to do that, we've got to normalize these people. We've got to normalize these crazy beliefs like getting rid of Thanksgiving. And that's why we've got these pieces on CNN. This guy is a left-wing streamer. CNN refers to him as a left-wing streamer. What do you think about that, Representative Omar? Well, actually, it's not such a big deal that he endorsed me. And CNN says, I think you're right. Maybe we shouldn't criticize these people. And boom, they're in the door. That's what they're trying to do here. Meanwhile, we got fraud all over this country. Fraud that exposes the lie that these very same people want you and I to believe about how they're going to fix the country with the communism they're trying to literally shove down people's throats before they understand what it is. And once you start connecting the dots, things get pretty weird. Watch.
Look, Sean, this is a lot more nefarious than I think a lot of people realize. DSA is absolutely funded and tied to the Communist Chinese Party. We know, for instance, in their mega donors like Neville Roy Singham, who are currently under investigation by the Department of Justice, that they're not only pushing Marxism, but they're also joining with other groups like the Party of Socialism and Liberation, working in conjunction to target these moderate Democrats and flip these seats. But I want to remind people, Sean, that ultimately the DSA platform is truly racist. So first and foremost, for example, in New York, you just saw them elect a candidate, and she's likely to be the nominee that's going to be serving actually this 120th Congress for the Democrats up there. And so ultimately, it's our job in the House, especially as vocal people with platforms, as members of Congress, to call it out for what it is. And ultimately, Sean, if we remind voters specifically of the big wins that we've delivered, that the president has delivered, remember, no taxes on tips, no tax on overtime, banning insider trading, which is something that the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries specifically, tried to stop.
But why couldn't they stop it? Why couldn't the party that supports fraud figure out a way to ban insider trading? Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why they couldn't figure out how to do that. I wonder why they couldn't stop people like Ilhan Omar's third husband, Tim Minette, from having an investment firm that made millions of dollars and had their net worth surge 3,500%. Why couldn't they stop that? I don't know. Why? I can't figure that out. But it's not just that there is an alleged communist connection with the Democrat Party here. Even the people who are their heroes are wearing these inspired suits. Kind of looks like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers or something Hillary Clinton would wear. But jokes aside, this is serious. These people really want to take over the country. They're running for elections that will determine how you and I have to live our lives. So every single person that's watching this stuff has to understand that with all the investigations that have come out over the last year and a half, the fraud in Minnesota, the fraud going on in New York, and all the scams that these politicians are pulling where their net worth goes way up and then goes way back down, and they may have allegedly helped other people commit fraud. They've got direct relationships with people who are in the country without permission. When you start looking into all that stuff, realize that if those are the people that are running the show, it's all going to happen again, and it's all going to get 10 times worse. Look at this.
Your donation to our campaign is more critical right now than ever before. So we need you to rush your matching donation right now to help fuel this campaign.
Oh, yeah?
Shipping $5 right now, and the city turns it into $35.
Huh.
How's she doing that? Democrats passed a law that lets California candidates use tax dollars to match campaign donations. So if you're a Republican, your tax dollars get funneled to Democrat campaigns.
Oh, that's not a scam.
What a bunch of snakes.
Right. New York City has a similar program where they match these small dollar contributions. So if you donate, the city provides $8 in public funds, turning a $10 donation into $90 for the campaign. Basically, we've got a system in America now that allows the law-abiding to be robbed blind and then get stuck paying for everything else that they don't want to pay for, that they have nothing to do with, that has nothing to do with them, that doesn't represent them. And that's why communism is so popular on this political party. They're already stealing from average Americans. They're already taking what average Americans have and doing things with it that don't benefit them at all. It's about time they come out and just say, hey, yeah, we are communists. Yeah, this is actually what we want to do. Think about that for a second. If they're already being this dishonest with our political systems, with how they force people to fund things that they don't even agree with, while their highest representatives, their standard bearers, are out there under federal investigation, if this is who they are right now, and they get away with normalizing communism and normalizing fraud and normalizing all the crime that happens in these sanctuary cities, what do you think that's going to mean for America? And what kind of choice are we being faced with in just a few months? Listen.
Gubernatorial nominee Vivek Ramaswamy is here with reaction to all of this. You know, I watched the whole decline now of the Democratic Party. They've been co-opted by radicals that want to defund, dismantle the police, etc. They want open borders. It's not in your race, but I'm looking like at the Senate race. Do people in Ohio understand that guys like Sherrod Brown will be forced to go along with that radical base if he ever got elected, God forbid? Do people not understand in Ohio that it's law and order, safety, security, and and economics that's going to drive this election?
I mean, I hope they do. But the scary thing here is, remember what I said about the CNN thing. They're trying to normalize communism, and to do that, they've got to push out these moderate critics of people who are the new standard bearers of this communist movement. And we're seeing this happen in New York right now. We've got Zoran Mamdani, who's the leader of the Democrat Party. And sadly, he exerts a lot of influence over not just what happens in New York City, but what happens at the state level and what happens at the national level. And if you're gonna cross him and you don't get his endorsement, if he's not on board with you, you're gonna have problems raising money. You're gonna have problems getting the base out to vote for you. That's why people are afraid on that side of the aisle to stand up to socialism. The only person who is Fetterman in Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is a swing state and they've still got some normal people living there who don't want to see communism. But listen to the gubernatorial candidate's answer to that question and understand what we're really being faced with.
I think the people of Ohio have good common sense, Sean, but a lot of us here are looking at places like New York and California and Los Angeles and Minnesota and thinking that socialist madness only exists in those states. But I think people in Ohio are starting to wake up to the fact that that's a very real risk.
Yeah.
That if we don't get it right this November, that could happen here in Ohio as well. I mean, the opponent I'm running against, this woman, Amy Acton, she has compared law enforcement to the KKK.
That's terrible.
Apparently that seems to be a common Democrat theme now across the country. But you think about that, that's not who we are. And so this is an important choice, Sean. This is an important moment for Republicans to stand up for the actual values that made this country great. A choice between free enterprise and socialism, a choice between the rule of law and lawlessness, a choice between success and failure.
It's polar opposites. You've got two magnets running against each other. There's no way to go across the aisle and have one side work with the other. You don't mix communism and capitalism and get something that resembles a workable system. No, these are antitheses to each other. One replaces the other. And that's what this election's about. This election is about replacement of America as we know it. They want to replace our laws with a new set of laws. They want to replace the closed border with an open border. They want to replace your house and your retirement fund with everybody's house and everybody's retirement fund, and everybody's free grocery store, and free bus rides for everybody. And why stop at free bus rides? Let's do free cars. Let's do free everything. Let's do universal basic income. Let's just pay everybody everyone else's money and create something that lasts for about 5 minutes before it all implodes. That's what we're looking at here. And why are people voting for this? Why are people so enamored with these left-wing streamers who are being coached and turned into the moderates, right? These people are going to be the moderates. Their beliefs are not going to be seen as radical. They're going to be defended. Why are people falling for this? Because they've been taught the exact same thing. They've been taught growing up that capitalism's rigged, that you can never get ahead in America, that you'll never be the first black president, even though all this stuff has happened.
That's what's on the ballot in places like Ohio. And I do think that especially as a lot of core conservatives begin to wake up heading into the election in November, we're going to see a rising tide for Republicans that lifts up not only my race, which I'm not worried about, but also every Republican down ballot
we hope so.
To make sure we stand for what made this country great.
Well, we hope so.
No,
but if that happens, first of all, it will be the mercy of God that allows that to come out of this midterm election cycle. It'll be people like you who get out there and vote and convince your friends to do the same thing. But then, what does America have to do? America hasn't achieved some overwhelming victory, even if what he predicted just happens. You know why? We've got an entire education system in this country that's churning out communists. You want to know why? 53% of Generation Z view communism favorably. It's because that's what they're being taught is the right way to do things. And this is a very simple problem to identify. We're not teaching people that they can get ahead. We're not teaching them that there's an American dream. We're teaching people that the system is rigged. We're teaching people that they don't have a chance as long as somebody like Elon Musk exists and as long as companies like Amazon exist. Well, that's not true at all. There's more opportunity in 2026 than there has ever been before. There are people that have regular jobs that are making an absolute killing, running their own businesses, plumbers, electricians, contractors. And those jobs can't get replaced by AI. And you know what? AI is going to help those people with their marketing and with their business. It's going to help them communicate faster, take on more customers. So like this idea that we've got some problem in America, this idea that the country is doomed and that technology's doomed us all and we need socialism, I mean, it's all a myth. And it certainly doesn't help that after teaching people for a long time that communism was the right way to do things without necessarily calling it that, we put them through a college education system that burdened them with so much debt that they're now in debt for the rest of their lives. That certainly doesn't help either. So we got a lot of problems in this country that need fixing. That starts in just a few months when all of us have to go vote for the right thing. What do you think about that? I will see you in the next video.